Hey guys, my name's Joseph Marin. I've been working with Steam for a long time. Been learning English for a bunch of years so far. Still learning. Um, I'm a software engineer, systems engineer. I work at a tech consultancy company, and I'm here to see where the cybersecurity subject take us. Happy to be here.
Cool. Excellent. Brian.
Sure. Hey guys, nice to meet you. My name is Brian Armijos. I am one of the students of Steve. Um, yeah, I'm like the prodigal son because I started learning English with Steve a couple years ago, and then I come back, you know, to try to improve again my level. So so yeah, I'm a software engineer as well. I've been working on in that industry for around 7 years, something like that. Um, and yeah, I'm mainly front end developer. It's my I have almost all my knowledge on that field, um but on that sector. But I also have worked on some backend stuff. And also um I'm pretty, how do you say, I'm pretty excited about the AI and intelligence, and I would like to learn more about that. So that's why I'm trying to find something related with that. Right now, I'm looking for a new job. So yeah, it's my in my proposal for these months. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's pretty much my.
Well, thank you, Brian. All right. Danny, if you could introduce yourself for us.
Okay. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. My name is Danny Zapata. I have worked. I am work for dubbing studio in Los Angeles. I live in Quito, but I work for this studio. My expertise is on purchases, supply chain, a little bit in technology, data science, W, things like this. And now I am working as a vendor manager for this studio, and I am how I can say I am learning English for one year, I guess. Yes, and I am very happy to develop my English. This is my target, and happy to meet you.
Nice. Awesome, Danny. Thank you. All right. And now the gentleman that will be speaking for us. So, Omar, if you could introduce yourself and then Javier.
Sure. And nice to meet you guys. My name is Omar Romero. I've been working in cybersecurity topics since 10 years ago. And I started working as a cybersecurity consultant for a business partner of IBM. And then I started working as a pre-sales engineer for Micro Focus. Then I was working as cybersecurity architect for Banco Pichincha. And now I am working as a customer success engineer for Palo Alto. And I'm happy to be here with you so we can debate the topics proposed by Steve.
Nice. Cool. Thank you, Omar. Javier.
Thank you for having me as a guest, Steve. And nice to meet you, all of you guys. Really, I'm honored to be here. My name is Javier Garcia. I'm 48 years old. I'm happily married. I have two boys, ages 24 and 17, respectively. I have 25 years of experience in technology and cybersecurity, also in risks management. I have always worked in banks. I must confess that I am a little out of practice of speaking English. Let us see. We need to try to be patient with this guy.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. He always says this, guys. And then he hits a home run. So
okay.
All right. Well, guys, let's go ahead and get started. It's been a great introduction, so let's kick off. So I'm gonna actually share my screen, and then we'll be able to see these questions and go through them together. Now, this first question will be for Javier. Okay. Now, guys, I want you to think, as an audience, I want you to also think, obviously you're not experts in this field, nor am I, but I would like you to think about, with your understanding of this field, what your answer would be for number one. Okay, so Javi, number one, supply chain security. With the increasing complexity of software development and the integration of third-party components, how can we effectively manage and mitigate security risks within the software supply chain?
I would like to divide the answer into three parts. The first one is know your supplier, know that third party, whatever name, it's a supplier or a partner. Second, monitor its security score constantly. And third, audit it. Because knowing your supplier is about having an idea of mutual technological dependencies. What things each part has to do in order to assure the platforms, the technology, the infrastructure, and then to plan how to reduce the gaps that you have found while you are doing this assessment. It is a win-to-win situation because in order to have long-term relationship with this partner, could be a supplier, it's better to know that you are working together in order to have a standard in cybersecurity.
Okay. So thank you, Javi. As you can see, the timer's up on the screen here. So Omar, I would like you to respond to Javi. Do you agree or disagree with his position, and why? Explain your position.
Sure, Steve. Thank you. I do agree with Javi perspective, and I consider that it is important to choose wisely which partners are going to participate during the software lifecycle development, so you can be aware about which components and which people are going to participate in the software development, and that may help you to increase visibility, because you will be able to map the supply chain and identify all components used in your software, from internal development to external libraries and frameworks. And I may also add that it is important to consider secure development practices along the supply chain security, because it is important to secure all the code that you are going to have in your applications, and also evaluate in a continuous way how is the software functioning according what expected. I mean, you may deploy characteristics such as static application security testing, that it is about evaluate the code itself, and then implement a dynamic application security testing, that it is simulate pen testing or ethical hacking to the application, so you can be aware that you are satisfying the standards that were proposed by your enterprise or by your company. So I think that at a higher level, things that I will also consider for securing the supply chain security or supply chain security. Yeah.
Okay.
If you let me, because we have time, I would like to aggregate some ideas.
Yeah, you have 1 minute to respond to Omar.
The challenge here in Ecuador is that we don't have enough suppliers, and sometimes the management decides for not necessarily the best option. There is not always the budget to go for the best. In the case of banks, these entities have higher standards than other industries. So many software companies not necessarily have the same standards as the banks. I have seen this particular situation in my life, my experience, and you need to go and look for companies that comply the requisites that we have in the bank, but not necessarily all the companies in Ecuador. Software companies, I'm talking about these particular companies, have these standards.
Okay. Well, Javi, thank you for that final comment. So, guys, let's now transition to the next question. We're going to skip around here. I'd like to jump to number 3. Okay, now, Omar, you're going to take the lead on this one. I think that this is a real situation that occurs within every company, not only tech companies, but I believe that tech companies are especially vulnerable with insider threats. Okay, so I'd like you to speak on that for a moment, Omar. Give us your opinion on this question, and then Javi, you'll have 3 minutes to speak as well.
Sure. I think that insider threats from unintended employees to malicious actors, it is an important risk that organizations needs to be aware. And there are some strategies that you may use to identify and mitigate these threats. For instance, I think that every enterprise should implement solutions that allow them to make user activity monitoring so they can track user activity within systems to identify unusual access to behaviors that are considered as suspicious, and also implement solutions such as data loss prevention so they can identify if internal employees are trying to exfiltrate information that are considered as sensitive or personal. Also, evaluating which employees are working for your organization. I mean, something like implementing employee screening, so you can identify conduct through background checks during the hiring process. And maybe you can identify some red flags during this process. And also, I think that you may deploy solutions that in real time may identify these kind of suspicious activities, so you can take action the sooner possible, and then avoid that. I don't know, you may have some service or some critical service that are going to be down, and so you may affect service level agreements that were required by the business. And then the idea is that you are or you try to guarantee that all critical services are working 24/7 according to these recommendations. So maybe I even would try to implement some specific consciousness to employees, so they can also by themselves identify which behaviors are considered as suspicious and how to avoid them the best way possible. Even I think that you may I don't know, execute some regular reviews to identify if you are accomplishing or if you are in compliance with all the policies that you previously proposed as cybersecurity department. So you may correct in the real time, if possible, any violation about thresholds that you have specified to those policies.
Wow. So that made sense even to me. And I'm not in the industry, but that seemed very coherent. So Javi, you're up to bat, my friend.
Yeah, I do agree with Omar. Maybe I can aggregate some ideas regarding that an insider threat occurs when an individual, sometimes, most times, with legitimate access, can know privileged information about the company.
Yes.
And for some reason, the motivation maybe is not clear, but finally he can decide to do activities detrimental to the critical assets that we have or a company has. So it could affect the resources, even personal. I'm referring to employees, the facilities, the information. There are multiple forms in which this employee could affect the company. So one thing that is needed to assure is having contracts that dissuade or persuade people from not doing this kind of activities. Despite of the fact that you can consider you are monitored, you finally can go to the dark side of the force, and that it could be dissuaded if you have a strong contractual forms with employees in order to persuade them from not doing that kind of activities.
Okay. So Javi, would you say that you agree with Javier?
With Omar, yeah.
I'm sorry, Omar. You're Javi.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you say that you agree with each other's positions?
Maybe because in cybersecurity, I think there are a lot of things that we need to develop, but policies, best practices, and make sense when you explain like Omar has done before. I think it's very clear the way he has explained this, and I think most companies in the world are trying to follow these policies, and Omar referred so good each one of them.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So, guys, we're gonna pause with Javi and Omar for a moment, and I'm gonna reach out to Joseph, Brian, and Danny. So, this question is for the three of you. In your field, in your industry, have you encountered or heard of some type of insider threat that has had an impact? Do you feel that the company that you worked for or work for currently is vulnerable to insider threat? So, Joseph, take the lead for us. You'll have 1 minute each, guys.
Sure. Thank you. I think that yes, I have seen these behaviors happening in different companies, not only in the one I'm currently in, but in different companies. And I wouldn't say that they're such company that's not vulnerable. I would say that any company is vulnerable and could or might be compromised at some point if there aren't streamlined policies that help them mitigate that possibility of having issues with the different vulnerabilities that insider threats propose.
Nice. Okay. So you do understand, agree that this is a real threat for any company. Okay. Brian, what
Yes.
about you? Tell us about your experience in, related to this topic.
Yeah. First of all, I want to start with a very small anecdote about that because one of my jobs, um, there was a person, sorry, who who fall in that um links that you see in an email, someone send you an email. It's one of the people who works with me fall on that joke and on that game, and we all of us has to take classes of that stuff. All the company needs to take a capacitation of that. So but yeah, I agree with Joseph. Any company can be vulnerable in any instance, and there's no way that you can like prevent all of the scenarios because is and there are here error human that you
Right.
can control that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, Brian. Awesome. Thank you. So, Danny, I'm going to change the question slightly for you. So, in your business, in your industry, obviously you have some sensitive information regarding talent and the contact information of different agencies and talent across the globe. That's important. You work very hard to get that data. Um, do you worry about insider threat at your company? Is this something that management has talked to you about?
Yes, our company try to manage with the high standards of security related to cybersecurity because uh, we received samples or products for series or for films which are not in TV or cinema now because they're expecting to be released. And the thing is, we have to ensure that these films or series will not go into the wrong hands, hackers or people like this, because we sign NDA agreement or confidential agreement because it's a confidential information, all of the films, all of the series. And this requires a special structure in infrastructure to keep the security in the best standards to ensure that we don't have a risk to be hacking by someone.
Okay. Yes. So this is something that all three of you and Brian, you encountered personally. So guys, I don't know if you saw this in the news, but yesterday hackers attacked the water systems of different US cities. And they immobilized the different water distribution of different US cities, and the president made comments about this. So this cybersecurity threat is very real, and this is the possible war of the future. It's a cyber war. So guys, let's now jump here to number 4. This is for Javi starting for us here. And Javi and Omar, please make sure that you're telling us whether you agree or disagree with each other. So Javi, this is for you. Balancing security and usability. Strong security means measures can sometimes hinder user experience. How can we strike a balance between robust cybersecurity and a user-friendly interfaces? And I can speak to this. I have interacted with platforms where there is almost too much security and it becomes a hindrance, a frustration. So Javi, please, your opinion.
Companies that look for overcome overcoming the situation, because it's a long-term issue that was born when the cybersecurity was born. How to balance security and user-friendly interfaces. Maybe two strategies could be followed in order to have a balance, an agreement between the parts. The first one is communication, permanent communication between the parts, and also having the idea that the security is the first customer of the user experience. In that sense, security professionals play a crucial role in collaborating with stakeholders to find the optimal equilibrium that could satisfy the organization, could satisfy the final user, the end user, the customers in the case of banks, and internal users also. And so the needs and the usability and functionality of systems could be go secure and oriented to the user. Striking the right balance between security, usability, and business needs is really an ongoing challenge that as I told you before, it was born with the cybersecurity when the passwords were created. We faced a huge problem with the usability, because people had to remember a thing in order to get into the systems. So it showed us the fragility, how fragile was the concept of balancing cybersecurity with usability, but that things have promoted that professionals in the one side and another could agree, for example, the use of multi-factor authentication or using biometrics or things like that in order to solve that problem that was facing with passwords, for example. And so this is a permanent fight in order to get in accordance the cybersecurity vision with the user experience one.
It's interesting that you've mentioned communication first, Javi, this being one of the core principles that you believe must be implemented in order to find that perfect balance. So Omar, I'd like you to tell us if you agree or disagree and what you can add to that.
Sure. I do agree with Javi's opinion because I think it is important to find a balance between a robust security and also a user-friendly interface that allows users to work in a seamlessly way according to what they are expecting. But normally that's something pretty challenging for enterprises because normally all other areas see or consider that cybersecurity is something like making noise to them, because normally we ask for deploy or implement specific controls that they are not used to do that. And that's why I also would recommend to implement concepts like security by design. That means integrating security into the development process from the beginning instead of doing that at the end, because that's something that would implement security from the beginning and that will help users to get used in a quicker way than doing at the end. And finally, the idea is to also educate users so they can always understand the importance about identifying and preventing cyber threats and what security measures they they would need to apply in every process that they do according to their roles. I think that's the idea, to find a right balance between both things, security and usability.
I love it. I love it. So I really like the part that you said, integrate security into the architecture from the beginning, right? From the development phase. So for Joseph and Brian, the developers, do you see this on the majority of products that you're developing? Do you see that uh, security tools are integrated, or is that something that is usually left to do at the end?
Can I?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. There we
Yeah.
go. 1 minute. Brian.
Yeah. So from my experience, not in the whole companies that I work at, are worries about that part, because the small companies, they don't have that worries about the security, uh, uh, unless they are affected by that, so in the last company that I worked at, they really were very very worried about that, because I had to investigate, and I had to prepare for how the company built that their software, because I was accustomed to the other companies. So yeah, to finalize, not all the companies, especially the small ones, are worried about the security from the beginning of the development process.
Mhm.
uh, but at the end, they need to take some um, some kind of restriction.
Measure or something. Yeah. Wow. So Omar, what you said is relevant, right? And what Brian's saying, smaller companies have a tendency not to do this, maybe because it's cost effective, it's cheaper.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
really a problem.
Yes, that's really a problem, because then Omar has to come and tell you all the problems with your system. Then you've got to call Joseph and Brian and recode everything.
But
So,
one of the challenges we have to face now in Ecuador, after the Ley de Protección de Datos Personales, the Personal Data Protection Law, is that even small companies need to assure that all the data and information is protected.
ooh, that's good.
So even for small software companies or for a bank, it's a must today
Yeah,
to protect that information.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Excellent. Thank you, Javi, for mentioning that. That's new information for me. All right, so Joseph, give us your perspective.
Yeah. About that, I agree with Brian's point of view on considering smaller companies, because that's a reality. We cannot hide that from what actually happens in a day-to-day work. When it comes to bigger companies, it is more frequent, and you'll hear things like the moment to apply security to your project is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not the next week. You should worry about, and not only worry, but act on it from this moment. So from the start, there's a tendency, a trend that bigger companies follow, and they do care about having security measures since the beginning of a project. There are many strategies they follow, but I've lived in the two realities.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so awesome, guys. This is one of the reasons I thought this would be a very useful conversation, because we get the cybersecurity side of it, and then we get the developer side of it. Kind of see if we're talking the same language here. All right, guys. I think we're gonna finish with this last question. I know the guards are gonna come and drag Javi kicking and screaming out of the bank. So the last question is here: cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Okay, so Omar, this one is yours. I'd like you to take this one take the lead.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, I think that AI offers significant potential for improving cybersecurity, but it also introduces new vulnerabilities. And I think that it is important to leverage AI in a secure way to enhance companies' cybersecurity posture. And I mean, we may use AI for defense if we implement threat detection and analysis tools that they can train AI models to analyze big portions of data and identify anomalies, detect potential cyber attacks in real time. And that's what usually most of the tools independent of vendors are now offering to customers. They are proposing tools that are going to learn by itself the way that users are having a special behavior, or even if we are talking about attackers, how they are doing things that are not considered as licits or legals inside enterprises. Then I would also use AI for implement an automated incident response way, because the idea is to automate most of the tasks that you may have now realized by users or by analysts that are spending a lot of time in identifying if that is a true threat or maybe it is a false positive. So the idea is to enable or implement AI to identify that in a better way. And finally, I would also implement vulnerability management tools. So you are able to identify through AI vulnerabilities and then prioritize patching efforts or any kind of vulnerabilities that you have identified to avoid potential risk on your enterprises. What else? I think that if you put in other contexts from the attacker the use of AI, they will also be able to automatically understand and identify how is your security posture in your enterprise, and then try to exploit the weakest joints on the chain that you have deployed on your organization to avoid potential threats, and they would use that to also reduce the time to identify and then to exploit those threats.
Wow, that just blew my mind, Omar, that they can deploy AI to find the weakness in your cybersecurity posture as an enterprise. Which it makes sense, but it blows my mind. Javi, wrap it up for us.
We can avoid to see what's happening in the world. I have heard many colleagues to say that it's better to avoid this exposure into companies. I am on the other side of the path. I think that artificial intelligence is here to stay, and we can see it as a partner in cybersecurity, as Omar said before. In fact, we have done a lot of things here in the bank using artificial intelligence in order to be more effective in identifying threats and attacks, real attacks. We used to spend 80% of time analyzing these incidents And now using artificial intelligence, we have reduced this time to 40% of the time. So you can change the artificial intelligence in your favor. We can move the artificial intelligence for the good guys, to the good guys side. I think AI is an opportunity, even for cybersecurity professionals.
Nice, beautiful. All right, guys. Well, listen, we'll stop there. I just want to say to each of you, thank you for giving your time to be present in this. And guys, special thanks to Omar and Javi for putting it on the line and letting us into your mind and giving us insight on the industry. And thank you guys, Joseph, Danny, and Brian, for collaborating with your time and your questions. We'll be having other discussions and debates in the future. So if you'd like to participate, I'll send you that information, and I promise that I'll correct the technical trouble next time. So thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for having me.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you very
you.
much.
So,
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Take
Have a
care.
great